Welcome to my humble little office. My name is R. Keith Andrews. I'm a spiritual guide and paranormal adept. And what- remember that. The journey continues today on May 2nd, 2023 at approximately 4:26 p.m. PST. Now, I returned to this world for one primary purpose, and that is to remind people that working together, we can make this a better world for virtually everybody. I build myself as a spiritual guide because the tools I offer are the exact same tools I personally use in my day to day life. And the philosophies I talk about are the philosophies of life that I personally live by. So this is not just a question of here's a couple of ideas that may work for you. These are tools and philosophies that have served me very well and served literally hundreds of other people, maybe thousands for all I know at this point. I mean, bear in mind, over the course of my career, starting when I was about 10 years old, okay, I started dealing with people and their hangups. Okay, to date, I am looking at well over 100,000 clients. So this is not just a small database I'm working with. Now, before I go any further here, Eternity, you are in with the gold. And then we have iVoice is in with the silver. And Joe, how you doing? You're in with the bronze. Glad you guys could join us. I figured we may just as well get things started off. I told you I was going to be gone for a day or two because I had to get this computer up and running. Well, we now have it up and running. Okay, I'm looking at getting a speaker system for it to make things a little bit better, if you will. But other than that, the system's working fine. I watch a lot of people sit down and like literally billions of people will sit in front of somebody that will stand there and go, the world's going to end. We're all going to die. Life is miserable. You're going to have food shortages, land shortages, taxes are going to continue to increase, and we're going to have war all over the world. Now, is this ever a happy-go-lucky thought? You know, I'm not quite certain what the draw is to having that much misery in your life. So what I did was I took a look at the news that was coming out and went, nope, not going to watch it anymore. Because then we'll tell you. It's not that I don't agree that bad things need to be talked about, that they require we've got to bring them out into the light, but they don't have to be on the front page. Okay. Now, I'm looking at like I said, like I mentioned, I'm looking at making a complete overhaul, hopefully for everyone listening. I would love to see this channel really blow up. And I don't mean explode. I mean the people coming in here because we've got a fabulous group of people that come into this room on a regular basis. And iVoices, the answer to that is virtually 100% no. iVoices just asked, are our futures predetermined? The answer is, from my standpoint, definitively not, but let me explain. And before I do that, Kimberly, welcome aboard. Glad you could join us. Every lifetime, you come into this world with a certain set of wisdoms that you desire to gain, with a certain set of things you desire to gain wisdom around. Now, that's where the contract is. It's a contract between you and yourself. It is a commitment you're making to you. Now, that said, as you're laying things out, the family that you choose to be born into, the people that you choose to orchestrate a connection with down the road, these are the things that are part of the contract in the making. But in simplest terms, let's look at this. Throat seems to be doing fine there, Kimberly. We'll find out, but I will tell you, temperature in this place is insane. I'm going to have to turn around and get my fan out soon. Where is, I don't think I've got it handy. Now I know I don't have it handy. Wonder if it's there. I got a good memory. It's just a little on the short side. Here we are. This little thing will tell me what the temp is right now. 26 making 52. We're sitting in the low 80s, low to mid 80s. Now, here's the neat little thing about it. Let's say you came into this world intending to gain wisdom around living with cancer. Now, that's what you're aiming for. But the reality of it is that when you look at that, it is based on the actions you take, your choices in life, and the situations you choose to put yourself in, okay, that determine whether you will develop cancer or you will work with people dealing with cancer. Okay. Is it predetermined as in, oh, it's meant to be? Meant to be does not exist in my experience. Okay. It's very much akin to luck. Okay. You take a look at it and what you're aiming for, if you think about it, people keep telling me thinking about doing something is as bad as doing it. Well, let's be clear on this. Where is right there? Let's be clear on this. If thinking about doing something is as bad as doing it, then this book has just written this book, amongst countless other science fiction and science fantasy books, has just written off life as you know it. Okay? Because the birth of the wolf pack takes place after the fall of man, meaning society has to collapse. So thinking about doing something is as bad as doing it, then this is a pretty volatile little situation. Okay, now let me ask you this. The other side of that, if thinking of it is as bad as doing it, then conversely, thinking about something should be as good as doing it. Okay. Now, I've run into a few people that will take a look at it and go, "Gee, and I kid you not, I personally think this is just they're fooling themselves. Oh, I'm 300 pounds overweight and I'm comfortable. This does not add up." Okay, I ended up 50 pounds overweight. Well, according to doctors, I was 100 pounds overweight, but I was by no functional stretch comfortable. So I take a look at it and go, this. Okay, we have a choice. Our life, your life, everybody's life is in your hands. You get to choose whether or not you're going to have a better one from this day forth or a worse one. Now, I cannot do, and nobody can do anything about what you've already been through. But no, the reality is the future is not predetermined. Okay. But you've got a choice. You can permit the future to do what it will and just sit back and go, I'm not doing anything. The world will work out for me if it's intended to. You're going to be sadly disappointed in just how well that turns out. Okay. If that were the case, very few people, well, nobody would be in debt. Okay. Nobody would be dealing with the side effects of other people's greed. Nobody would be dealing with ill health because I don't know of one person. And like I said, I've got well over 100,000 clients under my belt. I've never met one that said, "Oh, gee, I really want to deal with a broken back. Gosh, I'm really looking forward to my lungs no longer working." This just doesn't add up. Okay, so let me ask you this. And I've asked this multiple times in the past. Are you content with the way your life is? Okay. Now I turned around and went, I'm not content with my life the way it is. Did I overextend in a lot of ways? You bet. Okay. Adam, how you doing? Glad you could join us. I'm absolutely certain that I made some miscalculations and I probably overextended. But I now have a computer system. The guy I brought over to deal with it, not only did he get it up and running, but he saved the computer that I thought I was going to lose. So I now have 4 fully functional computers in my house Not bad for a guy who has problems with technology. But the question, I'm going to ask this one of you, iVoice. Okay. And let's just go with the idea, because some people will say, "Oh no, I believe that the future is all written and it's all laid out." We're going to go with the agreement that it's not. Now, with that in mind, all things being equal, there, iVoice, what would you like your future to look like? What do you desire to see different in your future? Bearing in mind, it is not, in my experience, it is not written in stone. Okay. Are you on a path right now? Certainly. But just like a river on a path, you can guide the river to a new path, but you're never going to run it roughshod. It's not like, I believe it was Pecos Bill that dropped an anchor into the end of the river and straightened it out. I believe that was the story that went. That ain't the way that went down, by the way. It's a cute thought, though. You know, so I'm looking at this going, I'm no longer content with the way my world's going, so I'm changing it. And I figure if we can get people in here looking at the world and going, I can have a better world than what I've had. Okay. You cannot do anything about what your life did before you got here, before today came along. But you can certainly alter the way it's going. Okay. This is why, right now, in spite of being tight on finances, I've got probably 4 months of food in the house. Okay. I've got it set up where I actually don't have a big problem. Well, I probably have a number of problems, but that's for somebody else to decide. Okay. So, with that in mind, if and anyone you feel that came out really well, feel free to pipe up. Okay. Any one of you, what would you like your life to look like? Or what about your life are you not content with? And we'll deal with these as much as we can one at a time, because the whole idea is very simple. I would like to see, starting not this week, not this day, but right this moment. Okay. Now, Adam, look at the bright side. You only got a little depressed. I got really depressed the other day, and I'm looking at it going, what is the point? Okay. People put so much weight on the material world, but do not get me wrong. Finances are critical. Okay. Hey, football, how you doing? So we're going to get your finances back in track right off the bat here, Adam. Okay. And any one of you that's listening, or if it's listening now or in the future, okay, I am putting this information, by the way, into a book. I'll be working on chapter 2 today. When I get done this video, I'll be putting chapter 2 together. It's probably only, let me think. 1 is the beginning, 2 is the layout, 3 is the organization, 4 is the payoff. Probably only 4, maybe 5 chapters. Okay, the one I'll be working on is a variation on this one. That's okay. This is Believe in Your Business and Follow Your Dreams. We'll be dealing with a book about that size. Okay. But here's the first thing you do. Okay. I love that question. Okay, and we're gonna go through these one at a time here. Hopefully I can actually stop this from rolling. Okay, first and foremost, Adam, I'm reading here, by a little I mean a knot in my stomach. In my stomach about it. So here's what you do. Tonight, if you can do this while I'm sitting here talking to you, this is great. Okay. Take a sheet of paper and write down every single bill you own. Okay, every one of them. Rent, utilities, any mortgage, any lease, any vehicle payments, okay, any insurance that you're striving to pay for, food costs, credit card companies, any individual you owe money to. Doesn't matter how small. If you owe the next door neighbor candy striper $5 because you borrowed it to get yourself a cup of coffee, write it down. If you see it as a debt, write it down. Now, do understand something about seeing it as a debt. Whether or not they've added interest to it, if you bought something under the terms that you are going to pay interest, you're doing. Okay, just that simple. It's a debt, whether you think they're overpricing you or not. Write down every single bill, every one of them. Okay, no matter how big, no matter how small. Okay, now that will, and once you get a logical outline, logical assessment of where you're standing, the emotional imperative, that emotional weight, will go away to a degree. Okay, now, then we step down here. Yeah, I voice. Now let us understand something about black magic and white magic. Okay, never, ever, ever use black magic. Black magic, by its definition, means you're striving to control other people. You're striving to influence their behavior. Okay, this is just blanket, karmically bad idea. Okay, now with that in mind, okay, black magic, anytime you start striving to influence somebody else, this is karmically wrong. Do unto others as you desire them to do unto you. This is the simple rule of it. Okay, black magic goes against that. Okay, now white magic is when you turn and go, instead of going, I'm going to try and make that person fall in love with me, you turn the magic on you and go, I have made myself more appealing to that person. Okay. Now, whether they come to you or not, that becomes their choice, but you're not affecting them directly. You're changing you. And this is a good thing. Anything that you can use to help bolster your own view of you to a safe point. Do not make the mistake of getting egocentric on it. Okay. But is it okay to use magic to deal with? Yes. And I will tell you this. Before somebody jumps on this thing, magic is in and of itself neutral. Okay, magic itself is not something that is either good or bad. What you do with it is what makes it good or bad, or black or white or black, or whatever you want to phrase it as. Now, Kimberly, I finally got the bad news yesterday from the ophthalmologist. That my vision will always be what it is from the retina detachment surgery. Okay. Now, Kimberly, I'm not going to argue with you about what the ophthalmologist told you. Okay. I'm not going to argue that. I'll tell you wholeheartedly that's what he said, that's what he believes, that's what he passed on to you. However, let me ask you this. Do you desire for your eyesight to completely collapse? You see, I took a trailer hitch to the eye when I was a young kid. Okay. I was told I would be blind. Okay. I ended up took to the right eye. So I was minus 5 3/4 in my left eye and minus 6 in my right. At the time, that meant I was a quarter point off legally blind. Okay. If I was holding my glasses right here, okay, I could not physically see them. Now, with that in mind, doctors told me you'll never heal. I have almost 20/20 eyesight where it comes to reading. So, the issue there, okay, I have not looked it up, but I will tell you this, Kimberly. Get on the internet, If I knew where it was, then I will look at it. As a matter of fact, where did I put my notepad? Move that, get this here. I will get the information for you. I'm just not going to look around my computer to find it right now. I have in my possession the ISBN number for a book called The Bates Method to Better Eyesight Without Glasses. Now, the fact that your eyes have been messed up, okay, I'm not debating that's a pain in the neck, okay, but I will tell you, the information in this particular book is what helped me comprehend what went wrong with my eyes, thus enabling me to turn them around. Throwing that would be a bad idea. So are you stuck with your eyesight the way it is? Only if you believe it. Okay, I will tell you this though. The doctors have said they can't do anything more. So as far as the doctors go, that door is pretty much a done deal. Okay. So are you stuck in the world that you're always going to have eyesight problems? Absolutely not. Okay, now I'm a firm believer in this because I've already broken that rule. Okay. I have no idea. Philip, welcome aboard. Didn't see you come in. In all fairness, I have no idea. I was 11, 12 years old when it hit me. Okay, so I know Dad turned around and sold the trailer eventually, along with the snowmobile that was sitting on afterwards. But where it went, I'm guessing still attached to the trailer. And yeah, Kimberly, I don't have a problem with it. I will track it down after I'm off the air today. Because I know where it is, sort of, but I'm not going to try and find it on a computer while I'm on one. That just doesn't work that well. Oh, there we go. Okay, I appreciate that. I'm just going to have to, where am I? Open that up just so I can deal with, so I've got someplace to put it. And now, I'm just copying that down. Let's just make sure that worked out right. Okay, I've got your email address. As soon as I find it, I will send you the ISBN number and all the pertinent information I've got. The book works. I know this for an absolute fact. I use the thing myself. Okay, now this does not mean the doctor was lying to you. This means the doctor simply was working with what he was taught. Okay, I just missed that lesson in class. Whoop, now where did I lose my screen? It turns out that 3 monitors is not enough, but I'm going to have to work with what I got. Okay. Yeah, no, but where is it? Should be down there, I'm betting. I showed you guys this one before. Don't have a trailer hitch, but this is the last piece of a railway railway track that my dad went out to clean up. A rookie engineer was going through high country in northern Canada, and we call him a rookie because he did the one thing you never do. He saw a moose on the track. He had a 25, I think it was a 25 car cargo train. Okay, going through high country. during rutting season. Okay, now this is great, except the guy blew his horn and the moose turned around, dropped his rack, and took a step forward. Well, it hit the train head on. The train come off the track, and Dad had to go up and clean it up. The moose shook its head and walked off. Okay, this is the kind of animal these guys are. Now, the trailer hitch, no, it went the way of the dodo bird. Hey, Raven, how you doing? Glad you could join us. I think... No, that's next week. Okay. I'm presuming we are still on for the 10th. You know, the way I look at it is this. We have a choice. Now, your life is whatever it was up to this point. Are you going to settle for your life the way it is, or is it time to get up and make things happen? Okay. In your case, Adam, what I'm hoping to do with everybody in this room, okay, because I was asked if I was going to walk away from the whole, um, from the whole idea of wondering how people can get the feedback on track, and I made the decision I'm not. So, Adam, your finances, I will give you everything I can to put you on the right path. Okay, now, am I a millionaire? Not a snowball's prayer. Okay. Where are we here? Just because I'm curious. Yeah. See, I'm not even a millionaire when you count it by pennies. However, I've got more here than I ever have had. Okay. Right now, I don't know what my blood pressure is, but I do know my energy levels are running really nice and high at this point. Where are we here? Philip's just going, I'm in the computer market myself, hiding from an intimidating decision. I will tell you wholeheartedly, make sure you know what you're absolutely requiring. Know what the computer is for. Okay, when I brought the computer tech in to work to work, to find what I was looking for, I knew exactly what I required. Okay, as far as what the goal was for what to use the computer. This whole system I just put in here is strictly designed for my streaming and for my writing. Period. That's it. Okay. Now that means that I do use this for my email. Okay. I know some people think I don't look at my email, and there are many times I look at it going like, what? You know, um, but yeah, where it comes to the computer, just make absolutely certain you know exactly what you're aiming for. Okay. And then find somebody, not somebody that says, oh, I'm a professional, I can do this. Talk to somebody that you feel confident with. Whether they've got a license or not is an irrelevant concern, in my opinion. Because most people that have a license, okay, that have been trained, what they've done is they've learned to regurgitate whatever they're told. And again, this is my opinion. Okay, but make certain it will do what you're looking for, and do not settle for this idea of they're not designed for that. Computers, when they hit the shelf, when they hit the market in the first place, they're already 6 months out of date. So you're not getting one that is state of the art, no matter what they tell you. Okay. Um, you may consider it sounding and that it sounds silly there, Philip, but the reality of it is, okay, the reality of it is very simple. Okay, a big decision is, for most people, a frightening thing. Lord knows how many times I put a decision off because I didn't want to deal with it. Okay. But it's only you break it down into smaller decisions. Okay. You desire to make a change in your life. So what is the first thing when you look in the house right where you are? Doesn't matter what room you're in, doesn't matter if you're driving, doesn't matter where you are. Take a look at what's around you right now. What are you not content with? That's where you start. It may be something as simple as, well, I've got my solar powered calculator sitting right here to my right. I don't like it there. I desire it on my left. So pick it up, move it. It's no longer on my right. That little itty bitty problem is solved. You know, now, oh, I agree with you wholeheartedly. I absolutely agree with you there, Philip. And we will come back to that in a second. Adam, the fact you've got your bills up to date, this is great. Let me ask you this. When you are done, when you take a look at your bills, and I realize all your bills are up to date, but are you actually tracking where the money is going? Not setting a budget, but have you tracked where you're spending it? Because I will tell you, you track it, you'll be better able to deter to put some aside to get things pushed out of the way. One thing to keep in mind, where it comes to big purchases, if you write that into your bills as a current expense, start putting the money aside. Because here's the thing, you can buy on a lease, you can buy on a loan, whatever. But here's the reality. Let's just say, and I'm just going to grab my brain box here. Let's just say you buy a TV, the thing is listed at $700, and you're getting it for a smoking deal at $80 a month. Okay, for 2 years. Okay, well, $80 times 24 months means that $700 is now costing you $19.20, not counting tax. Absolutely, it can be, Joe. I mean, the place you live, with what you've described, having a graveyard in behind. I mean, it could be different. You could have your house right in the graveyard. I'm thinking that might be pushing limits. Okay, but you take a look at what you're aiming at picking up. Like I just went out. I picked up my meat order today. I currently have probably 3, maybe 4 months of food in my house. Am I prepared? Am I expecting the world to collapse overnight? No, not at all. Am I planning on being capable of coping with complications? You bet. Okay. So where it comes to finances, it literally is one step at a time. But the first thing you've got to believe is it is possible to do it. You know, I've mentioned this before. I took a look at Colonel Sanders, the guy that built Kentucky Fried Chicken. And he, from my understanding, opened his first chicken stand at 65. Now, I'm only 59 right now. Give me another week and a half, I'll be 60. Okay. I mean, 11 days. So, yeah, a week and a half. Okay. I've decided that sitting back waiting for things is not going to work well. Angel, how you doing? Glad you could join us. Yo, I decided I can continue sitting back and worrying about it. Okay. Now, something always will come up. Invariably, something will come up. Okay. The trick is to decide what is critical, and this is where you may be running into the problem. Lord knows I did there, Adam. I ran into this problem all the time. I've got money put aside and somebody needs a hand. So I'm going to go and deal with it. Okay, that doesn't work well. But let me ask you this. Let's say you've got $100 that is extra. You know, you paid all your bills, you got $100 left. How much of that money are you putting in a locked savings account where all it is for those extra expenses? My recommendation would be if you can put 50% of the extra money after you've covered all your bills, including a little bit for entertainment. Yes, it is, Raven. Including a little bit for entertainment. Once all your bills are left, I strongly recommend, if you can do it, take 75% of whatever's left and put it into a bin that says, this is if I have an emergency, and start putting that money over there so that when you do have a problem, you can deal with it. What am I looking at here? Yeah. Phil's just going, I've been listening to a Cambridge-trained theoretical physicist who left academics to become a monk in Thailand. He's now teaching meditation and Buddhist wisdom from Perth. Nice. Rest assured, I'm not leaving the scientific community. I never got to be part. Well, I did get to be part of it. I was called a lab rat. That'd be the idea. I mean, getting back to living to, yeah, High Voices goes, Keith needs to be gifted a pet unicorn for his birthday. Well, if it ain't consolation, I know where to find them. Don't know if you'll ever get there, but I do know where they're hiding. You know, but you know, the reality is if you take a look at what you've got left over. If you've got $100, if you've got $50, take 75% of it and put it in a savings account in case there's a complication. Now, this will take time to build and it'll certainly get written off in a hurry. Okay, let me see. Nope, not that one. I gotta go through these anyway. I'm just not going to right this split second. There. Gotta be one in here somewhere. Okay, now here's a neat little trick. What this is a receipt. Okay. Now, as you can see, it says IGA. Now, this is a grocery bill. Okay. But in this particular store, at the bottom of it, way down, where is it here? Yeah, of course, I'm not going to be able to find it this time. Of course not. With some receipts, they'll tell you at the bottom you saved X number of dollars. Okay. When that happens, take that saved money and put it in your savings account. Make sure the savings account is 0 fee. Okay. But this will help you put money aside. And like I said, this is the tool I personally use. Okay. Well, there's a day that you never forget. But it had to happen on somebody's, I guess. You know, the neat part about it is the first, and when we start looking at unicorns, we are looking at a few things. Number one, you got to accept the fact, and I call it fact because I've seen the dang things. Now, either I've seen them or I'm completely nuts. Your call. Okay. But first rule of thumb, if you desire something in your life, you've got to believe here that it's possible, not in your head. You've got to believe it in your heart. The mistake people make, the biggest mistake people have made, in my opinion, is seeing is believing. Understand something very important here. That is backwards. Because if you don't believe it's possible, you're not going to see it anyway. Your mind will disconnect, and disown the idea. Okay, but when we take a look at health, I was told I would have to be on blood pressure medication for the rest of my life. I was told I would not, that unless I started taking medication, I could not lose weight. It can't be done anymore, apparently, which I've yet to figure out how a doctor can do that. You know, doctors are coming out nowadays going, oh, you need this little pill to drop weight. I'm telling you, that doesn't work that way. Hey, spaced out. How we doing, Dave? What is today? Today is Wednesday, I think. Glad you could make it there, Dave. Actually, that reminds me, I got to do something here. Yep, it is this Friday coming up. And yes, I am fully intending on being there. Where is it? I'm having fun trying to find what I need. This is what I need. This is this is realistically, this is Dave's show. Okay, there we go. And absolutely drop in, take a look at him. Okay, take a listen to what he's got to say. If you like what he's putting out, do give him a thumbs up and absolutely subscribe to the channel. Okay, he's got some really neat guests on there. Okay, I don't agree with all of them by any means, but let's face it, I'm not the only person on the planet. Thank heavens for that. You know, so I mean, now that's Dave, and Dave is on. I swear, a lot, but Dave is on. I think just about every day, if not every day. You know, I remember when I was first working with Dave, and Dave was all up in arms about really desiring to get on terrestrial radio. Okay, from what I gather, and correct me if I'm wrong here, Dave. From what I gather, Dave put his heart and soul into doing that, and today he's done it. Okay, now let me see here. I gotta minimize this. I have no idea how Dave does this. Chris, welcome on board. Glad you could join us. And in answer to your question, no, I have not got back to you on the email. I only just got the computer working properly yesterday. It's been down, like it's been really sketchy over the last couple of days because I had to replace the entire system. So I'll be taking a look at those pictures tonight. I've got a lot that I gotta be doing tonight. By the way, here's an extra shout out for you. We've got a chap in the chat room right now by the name of Chris Holm. Okay, and this is the artist I'm using that I put to work doing the artwork for the races of the world. Okay, so absolutely, would I recommend him? Yeah, pretty much. Much like I would recommend Dave. You want to listen to some really intriguing shows, pop into Dave's show. Okay, where are we here? Yeah, Phil's just going. The only way for two people to agree on everything is for one of them to not think. There's a lot of people out there, Philip, that fall into that category. Well, yeah, Well, my stress went through the roof there, Chris. Quite frankly, I had a heart attack. I think the last one I had was 3 or 4 days ago. But am I on medication for it? Yeah. It's called distance myself. Okay. It's called get the excess clutter out of my house. It's called take a look at what the doctors tell me and categorically look at it and go, I'm not buying into this idea I'm going to be dead next week. I already tried that. It didn't work well for me. You know, I mean, I take a look at the whole situation here and I'm going, okay, we have to start really focusing on shifting what's going on in your life for you to really wake up and go, my life is working well. I'm sitting here going, I watch billions of people, or more to the point, you hear about billions of people that'll sit there and go, the world's going to end. And they listen to people stand at the front of a crowd going, the world's going to end. You're all going to hell. You're all going to die. Well, I will give them this. You're going to die. Okay. Yeah, Joe's going on the subject of finance and taxes. My parents got a letter from the IRS days ago. The day the letter came, my mom had panic attack about the situation that day. They told to keep quiet about it. Well, here's the thing. Okay, the mistake that most parents make, and this is across the board. My parents did the same thing. They don't talk about the finances that are going on. Okay, net result, if you don't talk to the kids about what you're going through, you're condemning the kids to have to go through it themselves and figure it out along the way. Take care of that, Chris. Yeah, one thing I will, and I haven't gotten into this, quite seriously, where it comes to astrology, there are a number of major miscalculations that take on, because for astrology to work, it has to be internally consistent. And the way Western astrology is set, it's not. I can punch craters in the building of it. Okay. The interpretation, they've done well. It's the alignment of it that is the problem. Okay. They did the same thing with numerology. But astrology, think of astrology the way it was put to me. If you take a look at your natal chart, okay, that is your report card of your last life. That tells you what skills, what tendencies you're coming into this life with. It does not mean you're condemned or preordained to follow any given path. It simply tells you that that you were born with these tendencies and with these strengths. Possibly you were born with a staggering amount of athleticism. That doesn't mean you're going to be a professional athlete. Okay. You may decide, like one athlete, I forget what his name was. One of the ones I heard about was a professional athlete, and all of a sudden he put down his tools of choice. And like I said, I forget which athlete, so I don't know what sport it was. But he put down all of his sports paraphernalia, picked up a guitar, and decided he was going to go into singing. Okay. The choice is yours, quite frankly. Okay, let us just take a look here. Yeah, and no, and in all fairness, Joe, I do appreciate you bringing it up, because the reality is we keep these sorts of things quiet. We are condemning the next generation to make the same stupid moves, because it's one thing that the old saying, those that don't know history are doomed to repeat it. Well, I will tell you this, those that dwell on it have exactly the same problem. Okay, they absolutely have the same problem. This is why I sit down with my own son and go, okay, these are where my finances are. This is what I'm doing with it. And this is what will work. I know it works because I'm still surviving. Barely on occasion, but I'm still surviving. Where we are. Um, I don't blame you there, Chris. Hey, Chris, my apologies. I don't blame you there, Philip. Yes, it was a horrendous thing that took place on your birthday. Absolutely. But we can safely say that they didn't target your birthday. They didn't target your birthday. Okay. This said, Absolutely make the most of the birthday the way you see fit, within reason. Okay. And this is a blanket for everybody. This whole idea, many younger kids, and I mean, I did the same thing myself. Many younger people um, turn around and go, I'm going to get absolutely plastered on my birthday. Now, I never understood that, and I never did go out of my way to get plastered on my birthday. I did it for a while, but my birthday was 365, right? Because I figured out how to avoid a hangover. Just stay drunk, you don't have a hangover. I voices, do I believe in the Illuminati? Absolutely. Do I fear the Illuminati? Absolutely not. Okay. Do they have all kinds of secret rituals and what have you that they follow? From what I gather, yeah. Does that make them, does that make them anything special? Not in my eyes. Okay. But then the reality is people become more powerful and become the elite, the powerful, the upper echelon, because people that don't have it turn around and go, you got more stuff than I've got, therefore you're better. I am not better than any one of you. Okay. I've done some really bizarre things in my life. Okay. It's a good thing, Philip. You know, But do I see myself as better than you guys? No. I mean, let's face it, I don't even cotton to the idea an unknown drip under pressure. And considering the number of people I've talked to that have claimed to know what they're doing, okay, um, that flat out either are completely bizarre or obviously do not know what they're up to is just mind boggling. I'll tell you flat out, do not take my word for what I'm telling you. Okay. I can punch all kinds of holes into it. Okay. But do your own research. I just simply have learned to trust my instincts because, well, I keep getting them corroborated. You know, but hey, gravity works. You know, it's time to get excited about your life changing. Now I got a kick out of it when I was younger. Every time my birthday came up, before dad died, every time it came up almost, he'd look at me and go, so do you feel any older? I'm like, no. Let's face it. You get older every nanosecond and smaller. So an extra day doesn't really add a whole lot. Okay. Now, honestly, Philip, here's what from my standpoint, here's what you do. Okay, you start with the character wherever you choose. Like, pick a main character would be my suggestion. Okay, and we can put that in context here. Okay, now this is by no means horror, but when I started writing this, I took the main character. I went, okay, it's post-apocalyptic. Here's the main character, and he's where it's starting in the bar. Now, for a horror story, there's a number of things you've got to look at. But first and foremost, pick a main character. That becomes your choice. Okay, because you have to look at if you're looking at horror, are you going to tell about it from the perspective of the villain or from the perspective of the good guy? In other words, the antagonist, which is the villain, or the protagonist, which is the that's the good guy, the hero. You've got to pick which one you're starting with. Simple as that. When I built the Birth of the Wolf Pack, Jeremiah was a good guy lost in the middle of a mess. Okay, and that's just the way it started. Then I let it write itself. But get a handle on, are you starting from the hero side or from the villain side? Okay, that's first and foremost. Once you've got that down, you just pick a working title, and that's all it is. You don't worry about the actual title. It's a working title, which means it's a title that you can wrap your brain around. It says, this is what the story is. Okay. Now, with the birth of the wolf pack, it pretty much says it all. Okay. Okay, now, if you're going to write it from the villain standpoint, and horror is one area that I don't write stories in. It's one of 3 areas I don't. But I can tell you this. Get a handle on the character. You always look at 5 questions. Who is he? Give him a name. It can be a working name for all it matters. Pick a name that you can wrap your mind around. It can be a real name, like when I say a real name, a name that people would know him by, or pick what is his horror thing. You know, is he the Flayer? This is a chap that goes around the world, goes around the city, or waits for people in a certain area so he can skin them alive. Okay. Now, oh, I mean, you can do a simple name like that, or call him Bob. This is Bob, and Bob is, well, for whatever reason, you don't even have to know exactly what took him to that. Okay, you can come to that idea as you go along, but you get where he's starting. And I will tell you, the best thing you can do is start off with a mind grabber for the first chapter. Okay, have something happen that gets people's attention and draws them straight into it. The more of each sense that you can get, you got 5 senses to work with, technically 6. The more of those senses you can write in, the better off you are. What have we got here? Philip goes, there are horror elements in Tolkien. I imagine there might be horror elements in Europe as well. Oh, there are. There are issues that are just not fun. Okay. And of course, LA is adding, a villain rarely sees himself as a villain. Hitler never saw himself as a villain. Hitler saw himself, in a sense, as a savior. Okay. But you are absolutely right, LA. But you gotta have a look at the character. You look at who he is. What is he doing? What is his horror genre? Is he terrorizing people? Is he murdering people? Is he leaving clues to outsmart the protagonist? Okay. Now remember, a protagonist can be an individual or a group. Okay. But then if it's a group, you do have to remember each character has to be well defined. The more senses, the more detailed the character is, the more realistic he is, the stronger the draw. Okay. And show you, yeah. And this is the thing, and this is why I was talking about the other day. Okay. There are very few, like I am building, I've already started looking for the people I require. I am going to turn the publishing company I already have into a company where things like these stories can get to print without somebody telling you it's not good enough. It's not long enough. It's not detailed enough. Okay. Ozzy, how you doing? Glad you could join us. You know, I mean, if you want to see I will tell you one of the most fascinating demonic minds, if you will. If you haven't read him before, I have no problem with that at all, Ange. Okay. Um, you know, the reality is I don't read well. I don't read quickly. But I am planning on making, well, never mind planning on, I'm already initiating making massive changes to the way my life is going. Okay, to the way that my professional life is going as well. Okay, the problem I run into is so many people will tell you marketing, I can help you with marketing, I can get your visibility. I'm telling you, every one of the corporations I've talked to that has made that claim have lied to me. Okay. I'll tell you flat out, if I take on your book, I'm not going to be advertising aside from putting it on my website. Okay. That's just the way that is because advertising is not my strong suit. It will be one day, and I have decided that it's going to have to be. I missed. Oh, there we are. Nathan, how are you? Glad you could join us. And let's find that again, shall we? Actually, I hide it, but where is it? There. This is the link to Nathan's show. There we go. Now, who else do we got in here? Oh, I do believe I missed somebody here. Going way back up just because I have to, as it were. I know I saw you in here somewhere, Angels. So, we copy that and we pop this one in. See, here's the thing. You desire to write a story. Yeah, absolutely. Get on it. Okay. The reality of it is the more you can like once you get an idea, sit down, dedicate how I'm gonna cut myself off there. I stumbled across a beautiful tidbit given via Gene Simmons of the famed Kiss. Okay. He used to have a show on called Family Jewels. Gene Simmons' Family Jewels. And what I was just flicking through a channel one day, way back when I still had cable, and all of a sudden Gene is sitting there right in the screen. He leans forward and he goes, "I'm telling you guys, there's a rumor out there that creativity is 90% inspiration and 10% perspiration." He says, "I'm telling you that's wrong." He goes, when I do something, he says it's actually 10% inspiration and 90% perspiration. He goes, when I go to write a song, I don't know if it's going to be an absolute hit, but I do know I go into my office, I close the door, and I go, I'm writing this song to make it so I'm content with it. And he says, I'll sit there for 8-10 hours at a time until it is absolutely, in my eyes, perfect. Okay, this is the critical factor. Get your mind set on something creative and start working at it. Do not take no for an answer. Do not listen to people that tell you you're not good enough. Okay, it doesn't work that way. Okay, now that's just in my personal opinion, but what the heck? It's the one I pay most attention to anyway. Funny thing there, Ange, and if you can afford to take 6 months off to become creative, this is great. Myself, I've been unemployed now for, well, since the 15th of December, and I'm still struggling with it. Not the creative side, but the marketing side. Mm. Speaking of which, just went and picked these up. Just went and got another batch of these out of the printer today. Okay, that's the children's story, Mr. Dreamcatcher. I wrote this one literally for my eldest son. And then due to the way it worked out, I ended up putting it in print. But now it's a question of getting things to happen. But take the idea, whatever idea you're working with, get a handle on it, as in, I'm doing this now because this is what I desire to do. Where are we here? Just looking back here a bit because I don't like missing things. I do it way too often. This is why I voices. You write your questions right in all caps, which is exactly why I can find them. Okay, I have no idea how Dave manages to find all the ones he does, but iVoices is asking, how do Catholic exorcists manage to get spirits out of people's bodies if they actually do? Well, here's the thing: most of the spirits that people are not are claiming, but are fearing they're experiencing from, most are, and this is going to sound really bad, and there are people in this chat room that'll flat out tell you, if you ask them, and I'll give you permission, because you guys know who you are. But most of the people that are told, usually by a Catholic priest, you're possessed, most of them are not. Most of them simply have a problem where they don't think the way they're told they're supposed to. I myself have been called the devil incarnate, which worked out really well for me. The neat little part about it, the neat little part about it is, in all fairness, when you're talking about a Catholic exorcist getting and moving a spirit out, what it usually boils down to is because their belief in that spiritual genre and their parishioner or their clients, belief in that power to remove the problem is what helps settle the mind. Yes, I know that goes against what half of you are believing, and that's okay. I'm not asking you to believe what I do and what I believe. Okay, that's my way of looking at the world. Okay, now Philip. Yeah, Philip goes, big concern is finding editors to help keep the horror, but horror that will not be intimidated, that will not be imitated. I'm worried about inspiring people on edge. Do not want to inspire more real horror. This is a fantastic idea. Okay, and telling it from the aggressor standpoint, from the antagonist standpoint, is not a bad idea, Philip. It really isn't. Now, that being said, I will tell you this. When you're looking at the horror, okay, horror is not my genre. I can tell you, I know people that do know horror. Okay, and they absolutely thrive on it. My problem is, you take a book like the Amityville Horror, the Amityville House. From my way of looking at it, there's a place to have a vacation. But then I don't fear the dead, the deceased. Can't imagine why not. What am I looking at here? Ah, there we are. That is an excellent idea there, Philip. I will tell you, every religion I've talked to people about, okay, they all teach essentially the same thing. Okay, that's the neat part about it. The more information you have, okay, the easier it is to write. But take a look at what scares you and blow it right out of proportion. I will tell you, the secret to writing functionally is to write what you know. Okay, if you've got a genre, if you've got something that scares the daylights out of you, okay, for instance, let's say you're afraid of rats. Writing a horror story about rats. There was a story called, now what was it? Ben. There was a story about a rat that went absolutely ballistic. Whoever did it was afraid of rats to no end. Okay, but you write on stories, you know the topic. Okay, Where are we here? Just looking to see if I missed something here. Probably did. The neat part about it is when you, yeah. Oh, there we go. And this is a situation, Ozzy. When something goes a little strange. Okay. When things go a little strange, take a look at what's going on and find a way to pull that silver lining. Okay. I do feel for your father. Is he by any chance on the mend? Now, where are we here? Scroll down past that. Yeah. See, it's funny. Henry, how you doing? Glad you could join us. I get a kick out of it a lot of the time. There are all sorts of things that your mind can deal with. I mean, here's a cute one where it comes to wasps. I saw this actually in a spider situation, and in all fairness, it was debunked. Okay, but if you've got animals, if you're taking in a horror show, turning nature against man is a way. Just a thought there, Philip. But if you take a part of nature and make it go sour, make it on, turn on mankind or on an individual, okay, then you can all of a sudden have a massive horror story that nobody's going to be able to imitate. Okay, which takes it out of the ballpark of worrying about somebody trying to imitate it. Okay, but I mean, you think about it. If you start off with the antagonist being, for instance, an abuser of nature, and nature all of a sudden turns around and goes, "I've had enough," and starts targeting him, all of a sudden you're dealing with an interesting situation. Okay, all of a sudden you've got a horror story that can be absolutely turned properly. Essentially, yes, Philip. That's the whole issue. Um, yeah. Philip goes, when I couldn't get help for PTSD, I started looking everywhere. I found I found helpful gems from nearly every religious, philosophical, science tradition. Okay, somewhere out there is the information. Okay, and eventually you'll find it. But there is so much that can be done in the horror genre that I do encourage you to get started if you haven't already. And I'm going to put it to you real simply: start now. Okay, start making notes while we're on the air. Okay, the reason being, the more you can focus on it, and remember, the more of each of the senses you can bring into play, the stronger that image is going to be, the more relatable that antagonist and protagonist are going to be. Now, you want a real neat kicker to it. If you take the antagonist, well, that being said, Philip, like Philip's just saying, the horror I want to write is the horror I want to read, but can't find. That said, you've got a perfect setup. Let me ask you this. Okay. And let's face it, I could go, oh, we can't talk about it because somebody will steal your idea. Maybe they will. But let's face it, how many stories have been told about the end of the world or going into outer space or AIs taking over or whatever? Let me ask you this. Where it comes to horror, what kind of horror do you really desire to read? That you're not able to track down. Because that's where you start. Okay, when I started writing The Birth of the Wolf Pack, I found that I had to lock it all together. This is why all of them are being written at the same time. That works out well because somebody will be. I mean, let's face it. Somebody was inspired by nature to write Ben. Okay. So, I mean, people will take an idea and they will run with it. But you look at it and stories, see, the funny thing about it is this is a form of immortality. Okay. No matter where it goes from here, my name will be on several copies of this book and six others. Okay. But the type of horror story you desire to read, write that story. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you want to try something really neat. And I know this is possible because I've seen it done, not written about. Of course, I don't read much. Okay. Picture what happens in the case of what is called a walk-in, where a spirit steps in and evicts another soul. Okay. Against the other soul's will. You know, you can do things like that. The whole thing can be an absolute mind bender, right? But you pick, and like I said, whatever. Where are we here? Um, Technically, football. The answer is yes. However, I have also absolutely refused to play Sereno. Okay, in other words, I don't play Sereno de Bergerac. You know, have I worked to help people get relationships together? You bet. As a matter of fact, I remember one case where and I didn't realize I was doing this. I had two clients that were both having exactly the same problem. They both had fallen in love with somebody else, and they both had perfectly good marriages that they admitted were great and the husband wasn't doing anything wrong. But they wanted to bring the marriage to a close and get together with this other person. So I worked with both of them independently, honestly, not twigging that they were talking about getting together with each other. Okay. But we managed to guide them through it. They landed on their feet. Both marriages were pulled apart comfortably, are still friends. At least 10 years ago, we're still friends, which was 5 years after the marriage ended. Okay. They were, the husbands and wives were still friends and had just gone their separate ways. So, have I done this? The answer is yes. Okay. Have I thought about the aspect of horror? Certainly. But I don't write horror. I don't write adult. And I will tell you this, just before anybody gets to that point. Like I said, I am going to be enhancing my own publishing company. But will I ever publish adult, literally your adult stuff? No. Horror, I got no problem with. I don't read the stuff, but this doesn't mean it's not good. I'm certainly not going to tell you it's not good. You know, I also will not publish anything. I won't put my name or my company's name behind anything that orchestrates a governmental overthrow. Okay, or for that matter, a governmental overthrow or any sort of pedophilia or snuff films. Not going to do it. I don't agree with them. And that's personal choice in my case. Honestly, they're football. They really are. And no, they don't only talk to female virgins. Okay. Um, unicorns are very gentle creatures until you tick them off, and then they will stomp you into the ground or impale you, one of the two. But no, they are very gentle. They are very, they actually give off an air of calm, which helps people that are edgy around them calm down as well. Well, Joe, the answer is yes. You know, wait a minute, hold up. I should back that up. Are we talking about somebody that physically has a living house in the middle of a graveyard? Or are you talking about a dead person I know that comes and goes from their own grave? Because if you're referring to the former, the answer is no. People and humans have been taught to fear graveyards. I look at them and going, they're just underground apartments. That's all they are. At least to my way of looking at it. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely there, Philip. Those young horror stories are absolutely fabulous to work with. Okay, and there aren't many people that write them well. Yeah, as far as knowing somebody that physically has a house inside a graveyard, the answer is no. Okay, I'm sure somebody does, but I know that way too many people fear it. I found out one thing about the Kentucky Derby there, but I'll tell you exactly which horse will win. Okay, and I've never missed. I've seriously never missed figuring out which horse would win the Kentucky Derby. You know, um, do they hang around them a lot? No, from what I gather, not a whole pile. Although people they show up a little bit more readily in the graveyard because there's nothing to hide behind, except the tombstones. Honestly, Philip, I don't read. Okay, I know the name Dinar Coons, and what was the other one? Chuck Palahniuk and Palahniuk. Him I've never heard the name of. Well, yes, I agree with you wholeheartedly there, LA. Yeah, we do know somebody whose grave lives right on the edge of a graveyard, but not in the center of it, from what I gather. Yeah, first rule of thumb there, football, I never out anybody. you know, Although if you look back through the chat room, you'll find the individual. I mean, let's face it, all through here, all you got to do is look up through the chat. And we know, where are we here? Well, let's face it, that individual, LA, has more going on metaphysically than most people have in their life. He has it going on all through the day, 24/7, I'm sure of it. But it certainly doesn't seem to bother him too terribly much. But am I well read? Not even remotely. Well, I guess remotely. The thing is, when you've got in your case, Philip, you've got this idea of getting a horror story written. Start it tonight. Kimberly, in your case, time to put your eyesight back together. Okay, and I will track that information down to you. I did copy it down for you. I did copy your email, so I'll send you one. What have we got here? Yeah. Um. Yeah, he is. So I mean, you take a look at what your life is doing. Are you content with the way your life is? Do you have a goal that you've been putting off that you really think you should have done a long time ago? And for whatever reason, maybe life got in the way. Okay. My office now is running quite smoothly. You're living in the library, aren't you? You know, my brother used to be surrounded by piles of books. Of course, my brother used to read one full science fiction novel a night, and he never threw any of them out. Okay, that was just a weird setup. Problem was he had a photographic memory, so he would remember them word for word, page for page. You know, but pick. In your case, Philip, you want to write. Start writing tonight. Okay. All you do is decide whether you're going to write from the antagonist or the protagonist standpoint. That's the first point. Then figure out, once you've got that chosen, decide, are you going to write male or are you going to write female as the antagonist? Okay. Then pick something that you're afraid of because you'll have a much better chance of describing it. Oh, it was phenomenal. And I never did get a handle on how he did it. But I kid you not, he could read as fast as he was flipping the pages. And I watched him do it. You know, it can be taught. I personally do not know how to teach it, otherwise I'd be able to read that way. Heck, I can't remember what I had for breakfast half the time. Yet, I can tell you what is in the books I'm writing. And I've got, like I said, 35 to 40 of them that I'm working on. You know, See, my brother gave up reading about a year and a half ago, almost a year and a half. We're in May. Nope, just over a year ago. Last March, he quit reading altogether. I think that had something to do with the fact he dropped dead. I think it was March. Let's see here. If I go to there and I go to contacts. Nope, that wasn't there. Oh, what am I doing? I'm looking for something here that I'm just plain not finding. Let's go to message. Oh, well, I'm not going to look at that. So, let's see. Phil is just writing. I was thinking that the antagonist and protagonist are the same person all along, but only the reader knows this. That's the neat part. What you're talking about is a split personality, and an MPD or DID, depending on which psychiatrist you're talking to. And that is very possible, especially if they don't know each other exist. Okay, if the protagonist doesn't know that his alter ego is causing the problem, he is going to hunt up and down, okay, to try and find him, and his alter is going to know wholeheartedly how to derail the investigation. Um, Actually, from my standpoint, it was a shock when he died. When my brother up and passed. I was expecting him to, in all fairness. The only thing we know for certain is that when he died, it was not foul play. He died of one of four possible probabilities. The fact that he just came out of the hospital after a month in it could have been a blood clot. Could have been the fact he was 319 pounds. Could have been the fact he was a type 2 diabetic. Could have been the fact he was on a CP machine, on a CPAC machine, or for that matter, could have been the fact that he'd already been dead 3 times before this one took. You know, we don't know exactly what killed him. We do know that he died in his bed with his CPAC machine beside him. You know, but I do appreciate the condolences there, Philip. But no, writing an MPD hunting himself or herself would be quite the story to follow. Okay, the trick is keeping the two of them separated so that they don't know what's going on. And then all you gotta, I mean, it's simple. I call it simple because when I wrote The Birth of the Wolf Pack, it was literally about 3 chapters before the end of it that I went, I've got to find a way to tie it off. Otherwise, it's going to be 15 miles long. So I tied it off and started a second book. And then all of a sudden, I've got this whole thing about, oh, now I've got a huge storyline. And it was weird because I'm already starting to write another series. And while I'm doing that, it opened the door and said, here's a third one. I'm going to stop dying and writing when I'm dead. Okay, it's just that easy from my end. As far as how I'm adjusting, Philip, I keep running things through my own head. You know, something that my brother told me. Okay. And it literally boiled down to whatever you do, if you get, when you're looking at your life, even if it doesn't make sense, if you're dealing with circumstantial evidence and that's all you got with your life, look at the circumstantial evidence and treat it as though it's real. But keep an eye open for that one piece of information that may derail the whole 9 yards. Okay. Yeah, I know women like that. I know men like that. They're dating 3 different people at the exact same time. Myself, I'm pretty black and white. I pick one partner and that's where it ends. Okay. I'm just not interested in the extra complications. You know, the neat part about it is whatever your creative side is driving you to do, working on the creative side of life is a way to bring that positive energy back into this world. Okay. And that's what we've got to start focusing on. Get excited about the positive side. I thought so, LA. Yeah, it's funny, but I will tell you this. Okay. You have made some remarkable impacts on certain people. I know you know who I'm talking about. You know, you have made some remarkable impacts on their ability to cope. But from my standpoint, it's simple. Karmic law is easy. Do unto others as you desire them to do unto you. If you desire for somebody to be faithful to you, be faithful to them. You know, in your case, Philip, let me ask you this about this story about this horror story. Okay, why write it? That would be the one question that you always look at. You're more than welcome there, LA. The neat part about it, when we take a look at this issue here, Philip's going, she's like identical triplets who experience everything as one soul. I had a client that the mother introduced them as her daughter. Now, these two were so tightly knit. They were so identical. They could literally swap illnesses on demand. Okay. And it worked out beautifully. The one loved the runway work. The second one could tolerate it, so she was quite happy to fill in when it was necessary. And the third one didn't want him. It wasn't a triplet, right? but was model class appearance. Didn't want to be on the runway, but loved the management side of it. Now, I always wondered what the father looked like, because I'm telling you, these models did not get their looks from their mother. You know, the thing that I am looking to do, that I'm hoping to do, and I hope over the next little while here, over the next few weeks, that Kimberly is. We have a wasp in my house. That's okay. As long as he's flying, he won't sting me. Hopefully, in the next couple of weeks, we'll find out a few things. Kimberly, that your eyes are you're figuring out how to get your eyes to work with what they are. You know, Philip, right there is a great reason. You know, you want to read it, and the fact of the matter is, if you want to read it, somebody out there is going to like it. It's that simple. So get on it. Okay, from my standpoint, don't wait until tomorrow. Start writing tonight. Okay, but understand it's a lot. It is going to be a lot of work. It may come very naturally for you, but I will tell you, whether you're writing it by hand or typing it, it's going to take time to get it down. You know, I've thought about the idea, because people have told me, get a dictaphone, get a program where you speak what you're thinking, and it'll come out easier. Fast is not always better. Okay, you know, but write what you know. In your case, Kimberly, do not buy into the idea that your eyes are shot permanently. Raven, I'm so overwhelmed that I can't decide where to start. It's a disaster. You don't have to decide where to start. That's the neat part. Okay, people make the mistake, Raven, of going, I've got to start at the end, I've got to have a progression, and I've got to finish it at the, I've got to start at the beginning, work my way to finish it at the end. No, you don't. You really don't. From my experience, start in the middle and work out. The beginning of the story can be told in the way of flashbacks and memory bombs. Now, I'm just looking back here. Oh, I have no idea, Joe. I really have no idea at all. Joe's just going, how many aircraft are owned by our government? I have no idea if anybody owns them. The neat thing there, Raven. Okay. The neat little part about that is, don't pick the begin. Don't go, where did it start? What caused it to happen? Okay. I will tell you, if I'd have written the Yldrbacian Chronicles, starting with book one, it would not have had a functional prayer of taking off. Okay. That being said, pick wherever you're sitting and start there. Okay. And yes, in all fairness, we can absolutely, if we get to that direction, we can always take a look at that side of things on the 10th when I come on, and we can brainstorm and figure out how to make that happen, because there's a lot of would-be authors out there that, where you guys run into a problem is, how do I get started? Where is the beginning? Now, football's asked, what color is the wasp? Okay, and I will tell you this, don't think in terms of what color a normal wasp is. If you're writing horror, okay, having a wasp that is, all of a sudden you're looking at this wasp and it's not yellow and black, it's brilliant purple. It stands out from a mile away. Okay. Maybe when it's flying, it's creating a staggering amount of sonic wave that you can hear this thing coming from miles. Okay. I built in the birth of the wolf pack, I built a semi. Okay. I called it the Tarmac Terror. Now this thing is it's a great big flatbed. It's a 40-foot flatbed painted camouflage pink, purple, and mauve, running on cleated metal wheels. Okay. Now this thing is not designed to be a stealth vehicle. Okay. What do we got here? Oh, I wasn't about to just say it doesn't work. You know, the reality of it is, and I probably could take the time to listen to some of the podcasts. I don't come on to many people's podcasts because I got too many things going on through here that I just don't tend to look at it that way. Once in a while, I'll slow down a bit, but not very often. Yeah, I worked it out. I was thinking last month that I was oversleeping because there were a few days I actually slept for 8 or 9 hours in one shot. But when I worked out the average, turns out I averaged 4.43, so just over 4.5 hours a night for the entire month. Yeah, they are. Red and black ones are absolutely miserable. I will tell you, I saw a tiger wasp one day, and I'll tell you that thing was that long. I've only ever seen the one, right? But wasps can be a terrifying thing, but you can do so much with it in the horror genre. Okay, picture if you will a wasp that every time it stings, it gets bigger. Net result, you have something the size of Mothra. But there are so many things that can happen when you're writing to bring people into a different world, okay, than what they're used to. And that's the whole catch because people fear the unknown. Where you're talking about horror, the more it makes plausible sense and takes you outside of that comfort zone. Oh yeah, they absolutely do. And they're not afraid to go after it and get it. You know, I mean, black and red wasps are just annoying because they'll go after whoever. But if you can take one from my standpoint, horror is not what I look at. Natural disaster, there's a lot that can be done with it, but it's not necessarily horror. Okay, I still work best with science fiction, science fantasy. That's why I stay there. But do understand, I write science fiction, science fantasy, self help, children's, reference, and poetry. Adam, thoughts on iced coffee? Somebody else can drink it. I don't like my coffee that cold. you know, I don't have anything against the stuff. I just don't like it. And that's yeah. I don't argue with you there, LA. Of course, I still have trouble figuring out which is which. People tell me that Stephen King is a horror writer. Only everything I've talked to my ex about says Stephen King writes more suspense than anything else. I personally have always seen a thriller story as one that catches my attention. And again, Philip, this is something about it. when you go to write, come out of the gate swinging. Have the story running. Hit the, and like I said, with Birth of the Wolf Pack, the first chapter there's a hint of the fight. Second chapter it's an all-out bloodbath. With a horror show, start out with a climactic, if you will, point where something just opens the door and says, "There's the problem that's opening. Now you can build forward." It is, and in my opinion, there, Henry, I've tried iced coffee, and I was very quick to say, no, this is not good. I've tried crying. Whoa, that was just about wrong. I just about said the wrong thing, right? I went to say I've tried cappuccino, but I put an R in between the C and the A, which gives you an idea what I think about it. Well, see, sometimes you do luck out. See, I'm a firm believer if the cap machine pack it and just get coffee. I would have loved to have, but I have not made it that far. And at this point, I don't know if I'll make it to it in the theater. I may yet, but I just don't know if I'll pull it off. I gotta see if it's still in the theater even. But my schedule has just been, it's weird because my schedule is always screwy. I still have every intention of going and seeing it in the theater. I just haven't managed it, but thank you for reminding me. I tried going the other night, it didn't work out that well, so I didn't end up going. And now this week is just booked solid. See, I found Adam, and I still hold to this. The original air conditioners in the car were simple. You roll down the window, stick your arm out the window, and drive really fast. Yeah, LA goes, I have cold coffee in the urn. I think that with ice and a teaspoon of cream, liquid energy. Yeah, except I don't like the cream in my coffee either anymore. I started drinking coffee because I couldn't tolerate the taste of chlorine. Yeah, I don't know. Wonder what we're sitting at now. We're still sitting at over 80 degrees right now. Quarter after 6 in the evening here in BC. And we're still sitting at over 80. What, they've got a governor on your truck, or it's just not safe to go any faster than that? Of course, the funny thing there, Adam, in my opinion, is you can get the truck up to speed, but it's going to take you a mile and a half to stop. And with the drivers out there, yeah, that would do it. See, my dad had a tendency of just popping governors if he needed to. Yeah, see, we're in the cold, in the frozen north. You can tell because you can cook an egg on the sidewalk right now. I wouldn't recommend it. Way too much grit. You know, the one there's a lot of things that I look at, and it really boils down to picking what you're not content with and starting to work with it, or taking a dream and going, I'm building this. Okay, this is why I will sit here, and this is why, with you, because of your guys' support and encouragement, I keep doing, you know, this is why I keep coming back to this. I've had to miss a few days because of things, absolutely. Yeah, iVoice is asking, do ghosts scare Bigfoot? The honest answer from everything I've seen, not on the whole. I mean, I'm certain that some of them probably get scared by it. Okay, because even the most fierce or ferocious individual, okay, of any race, something will scare. Okay. Now, I don't know about ghosts specifically, but ghosts on the whole don't scare people. They fascinate people, as well. I appreciate that, Henry. The reality is I fight with a lot of issues in my own head because I watch this world and I've seen it go down this road before. You know, and now it's a case of going, okay, I've got to get my head on straight and start making things happen. But you guys have been phenomenal at helping with the encouragement and with the motivation, if you will. If Phil's just saying, I was having a difficult time finding something for you. If you go down to the gun shop, you can find a decent bullet. I suggest finding a gun that's got a good range, though. And by the way, small caliber will probably survive. Not looking forward to the pain anyway. Well, thank you so much for joining us there, Raven. I really appreciate you sharing your time with us. And like I said, I've got it written in on for the 10th. So yeah, we are still good to go on that. Oh, speaking of which, when is just gotta double check the actual time here, actual day. Yeah, Saturday the 13th, I would not bet on being on air. Okay. Can't imagine why not. I may be involved in something else. I don't know. I might drop in for a bit, but who knows? I'll figure that out when the time comes. It'll probably be last minute confirmation set up. Yeah, let's see here. Oh, that reminds me. No, today is. Wait a minute. What? Today's Tuesday, isn't it? Yeah, I don't blame you there, Joe. you know, I can't deal with. I've gone to a live wrestling event. Matter of fact, when I went years ago. Oh, that's easy football. The horse that crosses the finish line first is the one that'll win. This is why. This is why I've never missed, because it's always that first one across the line that wins. That's also why I won't. I mean, I did it one year for somebody else. They showed me a list of horses, for a race. I went down and checked off the ones that were written in bold. Now, as it turned out, right, I told the guy, I says, I won't guarantee it by any means, but I said, I'll give it a shot. So I looked down the list and just checked off the ones that stood out. He goes, you barely looked at them. How did you pick them that quick? I said, I just checked off the ones that were bold. He goes, none of them were bold. I says, well, not in your eyes. Well, as it turned out, given what he bought me for dinner, okay, I would have to say that I hit on most of them. But do I gamble myself? No. Yeah, Philip, I don't have a problem with that at all. But thank you so much for asking. Anything that can help people actually get their life back on track is absolutely imperative. Well, I do know, Philip, I know of a couple of wrestling companies that are local as in NBC. where they do have amateur wrestling, and some of those guys are fed into the WWE or the bigger wrestling genres. Okay, so do they exist? The answer is yes. Okay, do I know exactly how to get a hold of them? No, but I will tell you, if you're into that sort of thing, there is nothing stopping any single one of you from starting that kind of a club. Okay, get the proper training, as in get yourself the medical training, because Lord knows somebody's going to get hurt. Okay, but there's nothing stopping anybody from getting that sort of thing started. Okay, and this is just what we got to look at here. The reality of it is, I appreciate that, Philip, and I will do my best to take a look at it a little later. The reality of it, from my standpoint, is I don't have a whole lot of time. I probably can make time. I'm just not really good at it. But let's do this. Take that, and we copy the link address, and then we take it to that, and we pop it in there, and then we go paste. Perfect. Okay, I've got that copied to my end. So thank you very much for that, Philip. I do appreciate it. Not a problem there at all there, iVoices. Glad to help. I'm really glad you could share your time with me. Now we are coming to a close here because, well, we're hitting the 2-hour mark, and it's time for me to look at something called dinner. It's only my third one today, but what the heck. That said, if you do like the stream, do give us a thumbs up, and please absolutely subscribe to the channel and share the daylights out of it. Tomorrow is Wednesday, so I will be back again tomorrow. Okay, I will be back tomorrow. Don't know what we're going to be dealing with, but we'll figure that out as we go along. Doesn't seem to work trying to plan ahead of time. But until then, take care of yourselves and each other, and for pity's sakes, stay positive.